最振奋的日子就在今天，因为今天俄罗斯攻打了乌克兰。哎呀，我今儿特别高兴，感觉太棒了。
我们就穷逼国家，这还他妈跟俄罗斯打仗，哎。
入侵乌克兰，你是何居心？
是俄罗斯这一场战争肯定是一场正义的战争，这一场是一场自卫的反击战，俄罗斯必胜。
So it seems Chinese citizens want this war and are cheering on this invasion more than Russian citizens are. This is not complicated. The CCP endorses and supports this invasion. And by extension, the nationalists who follow their every lead endorse and support it too. This has unfortunately put a lot of Chinese citizens who are currently in the Ukraine in a very awkward situation.
最振奋的日子就在今天，因为今天俄罗斯攻打了乌克兰，就好像看到了中国收复台湾的那个场景，感觉太棒了。普京真是霸气、硬气、帅气，不愧是国民的男神，也是我心中的男神呀。
Let's start from the beginning. Leading up to the invasion, many countries warned their citizens to evacuate or to make plans to leave, of course if they wished to, and even facilitated the evacuating of their citizens. China did not. As soon as the invasion kicked off, however, the Chinese embassy of the Ukraine released an official statement telling all Chinese citizens that were in the Ukraine to proudly display the Chinese flag on their cars if they were trying to leave or drive out, and to make sure that everybody knew they were Chinese by displaying the flag, because this would offer them protection. This is, of course, I suspect, because the CCP expected Russia to quickly blitzkrieg the Ukraine, and of course they would have expected the Russian troops to safeguard any Chinese citizens proudly showing off their colors as allies. We saw social media posts encouraging Chinese citizens to hang the Chinese flag out of their apartment windows, and there were videos of Chinese people making homemade Chinese flags in the Ukraine and showing others how to do the same. Nationalist internet posts showing scenes from the war fantasy Wolf Warriors were being shown as a triumphant, "Our flag will protect us" self-congratulatory celebration. This backfired. And only a few days later, the Chinese embassy released another official statement telling people not to display the Chinese flag, not to wear red on their clothes, and to lay low. Because it turns out Ukrainians don't like it when Chinese netizens are fiercely cheering on the invasion, mocking the Ukraine and offering to take their refugee women as slaves, as long as they're pretty and between the ages of 10 and 25. It seems that Ukrainian media picked up on some of these awful posts and made these sentiments public.
调侃这个战争说啊，这个乌克兰地方死人越多越大家情绪都有点激动哈。就是刚才看到的信息，就是说很多中国人嘛，他在网上调侃说，哦，这个乌克兰战争打得好，死的人越多越好。这样的话，我就有乌克兰小媳妇儿了，是吧？这样的话，这样的言论已经被乌克兰媒体集中翻译报道了，现在基本上所有乌克兰人都知道了。在基辅的那些防空洞里面、地铁里面，人家老头老太太、年轻人就直接这样问中国留学生：“你们是不是真这样的？”结果很多学生都不敢他妈的在地铁里面待了。希望国内这些键盘侠你们留点口的，给我们一点生存机会。你知道今天我在基辅农大的哥们儿在外面，他们是怎么办的吗？有人直接问他们：“你们是哪国人？”然后他们说：“啊，我们是 Japanese。”我们连自己是中国人都不敢说，都多亏你们啊！你们就这么缺老婆吗？是啊，你们确实缺，你们连人都不是了啊！人家战争死这么多人，你们就这么样说死得好，可以有乌克兰老婆在这个地方玩。我们在乌克兰，只要是有华人啊，今天晚上在哈尔科夫的哈大使社那个地方就有一个中国人，好像是被枪打了。 以后在这个地方有多少中国人被打死、被枪杀，这全都是多亏你们这些键盘侠的功劳。所以说我奉劝大家一句，希望大家不要再这样。
For a Chinese person to have to pretend that they're Japanese is extreme. You know anything about the history between China and Japan, and you'll know. It's like a Jewish person having to pretend that they're a Nazi. It's the same kind of sentiment, and it shows you exactly how extreme the situation is. So let's rewind a little bit. Why is it that Chinese netizens are cheering on the invasion whilst Russian citizens are being arrested protesting against the war? Well, it's very easy to explain. You see, the official CCP stance on this is that we're not going to take sides, but actually, secretly, we 100% support Russia. They swiftly began unrestricted trade with Russia, offered them a way out in the event of sanctions, gave them access to financial alternatives to SWIFT, increased trade deals, and of course, as we saw from a leaked document, instructed Chinese media to not post anything anti-Russia at all, and of course not to post anything that is pro-Ukraine or pro-the West or pro-USA. In fact, going as far as to say that China and Russia are now friends, and we must protect this relationship at all costs. This is part of why they didn't warn their citizens to evacuate, because if they were to warn them and tell them that an invasion was coming, it would mean that they were posting things that were anti-Russia. You see, up until the 11th hour, they were still pretending as if this idea of an invasion was just the West trying to create trouble, and that Russia was not at fault. Russia can do nothing wrong. So, what happens when you've got a controlled media environment like China, where sympathetic news towards Ukraine are suppressed, but pro-Russian content is boosted and in fact blasted out by state media, saying it's NATO and America's fault, and the Ukraine is like a little brother and belongs to Russia, and all this other nonsense that they've been putting out there? The good people of China who are against the war and invasion have no voice, but the toxic nationalists who post vile videos and messages cheering on the invasion get boosted, encouraged, and silently endorsed by the CCP. Don't forget that China has the most controlled internet in the world, and they can very easily and swiftly censor any videos, any opinions, any discussions that they want. So when you see videos going viral or videos being shared out and discussed, it means that they are approved of by the government.
俄罗斯这一次如果干得漂亮，那么对于我们以后解放台湾要轻松得多，也要简单得多，也告诉那些数典忘宗的人，大国就是大国，你爷爷就是你爷爷。战争本身没有对错，只有国家利益和民族利益，国家的利益和民族的利益高于一切。俄罗斯必胜。
When reasonable, level-headed people in China who know that war is not the answer speak up, they get silenced. Brave Chinese citizens are finding out that you cannot show support for the Ukraine within China. Look at this mad lad walking around Chongqing with this sign. I'm pretty sure he had to quickly unfurl it, take a photo, and wrap it up and go elsewhere, because here's a guy just trying to hold up a sign and a pedestrian walkway, and immediately the security's on him and takes it away. A number of very well-known and well-respected university professors from some big universities wrote an open letter condemning the war and seeking peace. Guess what? In very short order, that letter was censored and taken down, and all mentions of it deleted from the Chinese internet. Yet at the same time, a social media influencer with over 13 million followers is allowed to post videos saying that we shouldn't sympathize with the Ukraine.
我昨天发了一个俄乌冲突的视频，提到中俄关系上不封顶，竟然有人私信骂我说：“你就是个你竟然支持俄罗斯，为俄罗斯叫好，你应该同情乌克兰，反对战争。”我真是纳闷了，天下苦美国久矣，现在俄罗斯出来一边暴揍美国的小弟，一边大嘴巴子扇美国的脸，我还不能叫一声好了？现在连傻子都知道，中俄是背靠背的朋友，是唇亡齿寒的战略伙伴。一旦俄罗斯发生政变或者被美国进一步肢解，中国将面临巨大挑战。你这个时候让我去同情乌克兰，你是何居心？每次中俄走近的时候，总有人要挑拨离间，说一些过去俄国对我们的不好。 是，这些事儿的确发生过，但这个时候说这些，就好比你和俄罗斯此时被一群狼给围了，你们现在必须携手抗敌，相互信任。但这时突然有人跟你说，别忘了，他们家祖上200年前抢了你一担米。朋友们，但凡我们有点智商，你会觉得在这个关键时刻说这话的人是为了你好吗？是为了帮你把那担米要回来吗？不，他只是想让你转身和俄罗斯干一架，然后你们俩都被狼吃掉。为什么大部分中国人都会支持俄罗斯，会共情普京？因为中国和俄罗斯有着同样的遭遇，我们共情的不是普京，而是我们自己的祖国。普京在前天的万字檄文演讲中说道，欧美不想把我们当成朋友和盟友，但为什么要把我们当敌人？答案只有一个，问题不在于我们的政治体制或其他原因，他们只是不想要俄罗斯这样一个独立的大国，这是所有问题的答案。而中国有着和俄罗斯完全一样的遭遇，这几十年我们做了多少妥协，受了多少委屈，可无论我们退让到什么地步，欧美还是对我们一次次绞杀，他们只是不想要中国这样一个独立自主的大国。谁都不想发动战争，谁都想要世界和平，但和平不是我们单方面努力就可以达到的。是谁让乌克兰走到今天这个地步？美国。有美国的存在，世界就不可能和平。未来的国际秩序一定不会再是美国的海盗文化，不是丛林世界，不是强取豪夺，而是我们中国一直坚持的人类命运共同体。中国说到，一定会做到。
About paying your debts, I don't think you understand how much money the Chinese government owes the Allies for rescuing them from the Japanese and all the other nonsense from World War II. How about Evergrande? Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. This isn't just about toxic nationalist shitheads cheering on the invasion, but also extends to the 50 Cent Army, who are out there supporting Russia with their own invasion of the internet. There's a game called This War of Mine, and the developers said that all the profits that they receive from their game will be donated to helping the Ukraine. Guess what? The 50 Cent Army went in and review bombed their game on Steam. In other words, trying to force the algorithms of Steam to push it down, not recommend the game, punish these developers for standing up and saying that they will help with the Ukraine. Because, according to the CCP, no one is allowed to support or be sympathetic to the Ukraine, and anyone that does must be punished. And so, we see the far-reaching implications of this, where even a game developer is targeted with the goal of completely ruining their ratings and getting the automated systems on Steam to hide and not recommend their product. A major poll on a very influential site in China shows that the majority of Chinese people, at least Chinese netizens, support the invasion, with only a small percentage against it. Overwhelmingly, social media in China, and of course by default the news, is all pro-Russia and anti-Ukraine, anti-USA, anti-NATO, etc., anti-West. And we all know it's because you can't post anti-invasion, pro-Ukraine topics. It creates an imbalance where it looks as if the entire country is single-minded in its support of the Russian invasion. This is of course not true, but that's all you can see because that's all you're allowed to post and that's all you're allowed to see. There has been a recent development though. The CCP has, to its horror, realized that the Ukraine was not as easy a pushover as Beijing and Moscow expected. It hasn't been a clean and quick takeover, and the unified outrage and response from the West has been stronger than anticipated. As a knee-jerk reaction, Beijing has been putting out official statements that try to distance itself from being a de facto ally of Russia, and warmongering vile posts cheering on the invasion are starting to be deleted along with the pro-Ukrainian ones. The cowardly CCP once again shows their conniving, self-serving and underhanded selves. Oh, and about the Chinese citizens trapped in the Ukraine?
空中不时有导弹，地上不时有爆炸和枪炮，两军之间正在进行交战，祖国就在身后，死法就在身边。这句话是真的，共同努力，战胜 是目前暂时的困难。
The Taiwanese citizens were successfully evacuated, and they even displayed the Taiwanese flag on their buses as they left. Taiwan has shown nothing but support and solidarity with the Ukraine, and this very clearly proves that Taiwan is in no way, shape, or form a part of China. To the Chinese citizens currently trapped and under fire in the Ukraine, you have my sympathies. It's not your fault your government are shit-stick cowards. Perhaps it's time to realize that it's not a government or a nation that determines who you are as an individual. I know that the actions of your government do not reflect on you personally, and I always draw a very clear line when I criticize the CCP that I am criticizing a government, I'm criticizing a society that is a result of that government's leadership, but I'm not criticizing the individual Chinese people. And I don't personally blame you for the actions of your government, just like I don't blame Russian people for the actions of their petty dictator who's decided to go ahead with this invasion. Don't let yourself be led astray by mindless nationalism. It's reason, firm compassion, and understanding of our fellow man that will get us through these tough times. Thank you for watching, and a very special shout out to anyone who's currently suffering from this terrible invasion, no matter who you are, no matter which side you're on. Until next time, remember, stay awesome.
晚上好，我是吉贤，中国人，北京人。这本护照是马其顿使馆发的。轰炸刚结束，我在奥德萨，灯开着呢。不像你们说的，他妈的灯都不敢开，我们跟个老鼠似的，整天躲在地下室。我就特别不理解了，这个普京派兵过来打这么开心，这儿中国人在奥德萨呢，在乌克兰呢，你们的大使馆在基辅呢，中国人在基辅呢，俄军好打自卫战，那我请教一下，哪个国家的自卫战是上人家首都打去的？因为现在普京那哥们儿已经代表不了所有的俄国人了，我的同事里俄国人、乌克兰人都有。俄国人没那么支持普京，你们比俄国人还支持普京，打了一场什么仗？还他妈说我是不是美国人给我钱了？我他妈明天都快死了，我他妈在乎那点钱？老子今天捐钱了，给守军，那帮人捍卫我的生命呢。我不管是哪国人，首先我他妈是个人，我尊重生命，人有权活着。我们不害怕，我们愤怒，好好的上着班过着日子，导弹他妈飞过来了，就在我办公室边上。你们支持不管哪一边啊，我希望你们站在生命的那一边。那个老百姓不希望打仗，那些守军他是我同事，他是程序员，他是我律师，他原来是老师，他现在为了保卫他妈他孩子，他拿着枪，他保卫这个呢，他不用说保卫土地，他保卫他们家这房子，这房子是他拿钱买的，他爷爷传给他的，凭什么被你炸了？就这么简单，跟北约没关系，老百姓就想让这能过日子就行。这他妈的打仗呢，让人消停点啊！